Like Gandhi used that anger to basically beat an entire nation without violence. So that's the power of clean anger. So you can imagine if you are able to utilize clean anger, how much that will do for whatever you want, your goals or whatever. What's up guys, this is Marvin Payne, and in this video I wanted to dive deeper into the emotion anger. So this will be a part of the emotion series that I'm making, and this is episode 3, I think, of the emotion series. The first one was about fear, the second one was about shame, and this one is about anger. And I also made an intro video into why I'm doing this, why I'm creating a video for each emotion and diving deeper into, the main emotions. So if you haven't watched that, I definitely recommend you to watch that. I can link that below. But to give you a summary, I think the emotional work, or understanding your emotions, or emotional mastery, you can call it, I think very high level, it's one of the most effective ways to get what you actually want. Especially in the time of AI, what will be your unfair advantage is your true authenticity, you can say, or the skill of being human or connecting with other humans, the skill of asking questions, right? And all of that you can gain through the emotional work. And I also think that's one of the main things that is missing, especially in the West, right? We've been living from our head for so long, right? We've been almost glorifying the intellectual mind, which has it has its place, right? But there is so much more intelligence in the body and other systems in your body. And your emotions affect almost all of your thoughts and thinking, right? So if you don't have mastery over it, it will control your thinking and dictate your actions, right? So that's the gist of it. And I wanted to go through each emotion, and in this video I wanted to go through anger. So I think the main points for this video will be maybe the misconception of anger, why most people are scared of it, don't know how to use it correctly. Maybe the power of anger, or clean anger. And I think lastly will be how to actually process and release anger that you've been building up and in your day-to-day life, so that you can actually utilize the true power of anger. So the first thing was the misconception of anger, right? I think in most societies today, people look down on anger, right? And they do that because what they think of when we say anger is uncontrollable anger, right? That you get so angry that you say something mean or do something hurtful. And in that way of looking at it, it's understandable, right? But the thing they're missing is that type of anger is actually restricted anger. That is actually not clean anger. Clean anger is like Martin Luther King or Gandhi, right? That is clean anger, right? And they use that anger to create a whole revolution, right? Like Gandhi used that anger to basically beat an entire nation without violence. So that's the power of clean anger, you can say. So you can imagine if you are able to utilize clean anger, how much that will do for whatever you want, right? Your goals or whatever. And unclean anger, you can say, or restrictive anger, as I call it, is destructive, right? Like you explode or you say certain hurtful things or do hurtful things, or it destroys your relationship, or yeah, things like that, right? Now, why do I call it restrictive anger? So you can kind of imagine it like this, right? When certain situations trigger anger in you, the natural way for the body to kind of process and release it is to actually so you don't want to do it at people, but you definitely want to get it out, right? So the natural way to actually process and release it is to usually like scream and maybe hit things, right? And again, you don't want to do it at people, but you can definitely do it alone, right? In your room or in your bed, just hitting things, right? Hitting the bed or and scream, right? And what you will notice that after you do that, the anger has kind of moved and processed, and you're not angry anymore, quote unquote, but you have a more clean energy, you can say. Like it's more like calm motivation, and that is actually clean anger. And another question that arises is, okay, if that's like the natural or clean way to feel and release anger, why didn't we just learn to do it in the first place? And that is because most people don't know about it, right? And they were shamed for their anger or punished. So when you were younger, right, and you got angry, you couldn't really process it fully and release it, right? Because your parents, most parents, would punish you, right? They would like if you throw a tantrum or something, they would punish you physically or verbally, right? They will overpower you. Now, there is actually a book, a parenting book called Listen, which is kind of a new way of raising kids. And they actually allow the kid to get as angry as they want while being there in love, you can say. Of course, they if the kid destroys something, they don't allow that, but they allow the feeling to fully process. So if the kid needs to scream, they allow the kid to scream as long as they need. Because emotion moves kind of like all over the place, right? And once it's processed and released, it goes all like this, and now you have like the clean emotion. Whereas for a logic, right? Logic, you think like A plus B equals C, right? It just goes in a straight line. Which is why I think most people are very confused by emotion, because when you feel the emotion, it goes all over the place, and you have to allow it to go wherever it wants. And then once it has done that, then it kind of fully processed, and now you can just go, right? So yeah, once the parents shame the kids for or not allow them to release it fully, it gets stored in the body. It doesn't get processed and released. And you can imagine every situation that triggers fear, it just gets stored in the body. It doesn't get released. So you build up kind of like an emotional debt, you can say. or a lot of anger in your body that is stored in your body from your childhood all the way until your adulthood. That is why for some people, certain situations just make them explode, right? They probably had so much anger stored in their body that this little situation triggered some anger, but the anger was put on top of all that stored anger from your whole life. And in that situation now, you explode and kind of respond in a way that is doesn't make sense to the situation, right? And before I go into how do you actually release and feel, process, and release anger, and kind of how do you have a good relationship with anger moving forwards and actually utilize its power, I do also want to mention the meaning or the wisdom of anger, because I think a lot of people are not clear about this. Why do you get angry about certain things in the first place? Have you thought about it? The only reason you get angry is because you care about something, or you wouldn't get angry about that thing, right? Or another reason you get angry is because somebody crossed the boundary, right? They crossed a personal boundary of yours. So maybe you didn't say something that you actually wanted to say. And in that, it's also another form of care, right? Caring for yourself. So you can say that anger is actually a form of care, or you can say even love, right? Like you care about a certain thing so deeply that you actually get angry about it. So the feeling itself, right, is actually very good. Like the intention of the emotion anger is actually a pretty good thing. It's just that it's just that you have stored so much anger in your body that it's now proportionally big, you can say, to new situations that arise in your life. Or you can also say that that when you do explode or do hurtful things, you're actually not processing that anger cleanly through your body. You're actually kind of tensing up and restricting the pure anger that wants to go through. And I will get into that pretty soon now. Yeah, another thing I wanted to mention before we go into feeling and releasing anger is, I briefly mentioned it earlier, but for example, if a person is really angry at somebody, right? And you might have a lot of thoughts because you're angry at that person. You might have a lot of thoughts that, oh, this person is not good. Why do they do those things, right? What you will notice is that once you actually just feel and release your anger, suddenly the stories and thoughts in your head changes. A lot of the times, you just completely stop being angry at that person because it wasn't actually anything about that person. It was all about you. It was all about that situation triggering something from your past, right? The stored anger that you had in your body. So once you release it, you suddenly stop getting angry at this person. And now you can actually look at the situation and that person more clearly and unbiased, you can say. Okay, so how do you actually process and release anger? The easiest way to do it is you can call it a type of emotional meditation, but what you can do is You can either sit down or lay down in your bed, and you can think of a situation that trigger angers in you. And when you do that, you want to feel how it feels in your body. Because all emotions is really just sensations in your body. And for most people, anger will be kind of like sensations around your chest area, right? And getting hot. And here comes the thing with like restricted anger and clean anger, you can say. So what most people do when they feel anger and the sensations run through their chest is that they actually tense up and restrict that anger. So they don't allow the sensations to move cleanly throughout. And it's because, childhood, right? When they got angry, they got punished, so they had to restrict it and not allow themselves to get angry, right? So that's why you tense up. And now you built that habit over many years so that every time you get angry, you tense up. And when you tense up, that is actually the thing that blocks you from feeling and processing and releasing that anger. So you can notice it for yourself. You think of a situation that triggers anger, you feel the sensations, and you might feel, oh, I'm actually contracting a bit or tensing a bit in my chest to restrict it. So that's a good thing, just to kind of notice it. And the second thing will actually be to relax, to not tense, right? To notice where you're tensing and relax that part, right? That allows the anger to move through cleanly, you can say. And if you're very sensitive, you get good at feeling the sensations in your body and allowing it to move freely. You might notice that those sensations wants you to scream and hit things, right? Because that's how it wants to release itself. So allow yourself to do that. And if you're kind of numb to your body, which most of the people from the West are, right? We kind of just been living in our head, and we numbed our body, right? And also because of childhood, you were punished, so you kind of restricted and you numbed your body. So if you actually don't feel that, what you can do is just punch things anyways. Just punch your pillow or whatever, and just do it. And that will allow you to kind of get in touch with anger. And that is kind of like the direct way to release anger, right? A lot of people actually indirectly release anger through, going to the gym or doing some martial arts or combat sport, right? When they go to the gym and kind of lift heavy things, right? That will definitely help, right? It definitely helps, but it doesn't directly release the anger. It will release some of it because you're doing it indirectly, right? But yeah, if you just do it directly, as I mentioned, you will release a lot more. But you can do both too, right? You can keep your training routine or go to martial arts, boxing or kickboxing, some things like that, and also do the emotional meditation, right? Yeah, for the emotional meditation, do it. Just stay with your anger for maybe 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. It's up to you. Do it in a way that feels sustainable for you. You can even do it twice a day if you're really motivated. And yeah, once you feel it, on the other side of it, you will see how more relaxed you are, how more calm you will get. and how much more like clear determination you will have from your anger. Because in my view, that is actually anger. Clean anger is like calm determination. And you you will also understand if there are certain boundaries that are getting crossed that you have ignored, right? Like some people you were angry at, and you don't even know why you're angry at them. And some of it might be because you have allowed them to cross certain boundaries that wasn't really okay for you. And now you can kind of look at it more cleanly and actually have that hard conversation. Another cool thing that will happen is that you will gain a lot more understanding and empathy for when other people get angry, right? Some people are kind of, triggered when others get angry, and they're like, oh, like they kind of look down on them, right? But that's mostly because they haven't processed and felt their own anger. Because once you do that, you'll gain a lot of understanding and empathy for other people that get angry. So when you see certain people get angry, or like get really angry in proportion to the situation, like you will understand that, oh, it's actually not about the situation. It's maybe something about their past that got triggered, or there's something they deeply, deeply care about, and they don't know how to communicate it in a way that's effective, so they use anger, right? And once you understand that, right, because you worked on your own anger, you can just come to that person and say, hey, I see that you deeply care about this thing here. And once you say that, and they can see that you see them, they will calm down, right? Whereas for others that don't see it, they will get angry back, and the other person will just get more angry, and now you're just triggering each other, and you're not going anywhere, right? So in that way, processing and feeling your anger will help you in all your relationships too, right? Both in your personal life and in your professional life. Yeah, maybe a last thing I want to mention is that for a lot of people, when they do this work and process anger, they will notice that they actually want to cry after. And the reason why, I just want to mention it so you're prepared, right? But the reason why is that a lot of people actually use anger in a way to hide their sadness, right? So, there are a lot of things people do maybe that have done to you that actually made you really, really sad. And, maybe in today's society, especially for men, maybe, you don't want to show that you're sad because people look at it as weak, maybe. So you get angry and you hide that sadness. But I guess for girls too. So when you release the anger, things underneath it will also come, right? So it happens for a lot of people that when they release anger, suddenly they notice that their body wants to cry. And that is the sadness that was underneath your anger, that you were hiding behind your anger. So yeah, just wanted to mention that, so you're kind of prepared for it. And I guess that will also be a good transition to the ending, because I think the next video will be about sadness. Yeah, I've done fear, shame. This one was anger. And I think the next one will be sadness. So yeah, I hope you found this video valuable. We talked about the misconceptions of anger, right? We talked about, restricted anger versus unrestricted or clean anger, right? How it looks like, and kind of the power and wisdom of anger. And lastly, we touched upon, how to actually feel and process and release it. Yeah, I think that will be everything for this video. There's definitely a few details that I could have mentioned too, but I think it will be quite a long video. I'll dive deeper into them in the future videos. Yeah, thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed it, make sure to hit the like button, support the channel, subscribe to it, comment anything you want below, and see you guys in the next video. Bye.